Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to Maths at Derby tutorials, I guess, but the stay at home edition because we can't get into the studios in Markeaton Street. So my mentors there are helping me set up a home version of it all, which will develop over time and include more people in the videos as well. But for now, I've got a piece of coursework I've got to hand in, so I thought I'd go over one of the questions with you because we did matrix multiplication in our last studio interview, and in our coursework we have to use Matlab to actually do a few of those matrix multiplications. So diving straight into Matlab, which I've got up here for you, or for me really, because it's me that's got to hand this in, so hopefully I'll get it right. Now, I'm just going through one question, and this one question gave us a few matrices, and you can see up on the screen I've entered a couple already, so A and B, and there was the third one, C, so these were the sort of setups to the question. So I'm going to put one in. So this one here is 3 rows by 4 columns, so it's a 3 by 4 matrix, and the first row gets put in just with spaces, but I think you can put columns in, commas in between as well. But if you want to get stuff onto the next row, sorry, I'm using this kind of Portuguese keyboard, so I don't actually know where all the key inputs are. So if you want to get onto the next row, it's a semicolon. So this one, the next one's a 6 on that line as well, a 10, a 7, a 9, and to get onto the final row, which is a 5, a 6, a 4, and a 4, and then close the square brackets and press return, and then that creates our 3 by 4 matrix that we've been given. And then the questions are 6 of them, so these are the operations I've got to do now. I've got to add them, and I've also got to multiply some as well. Now in the question, there's a cheeky sort of B with a superscript capital T, and there's also a C with a superscript capital T. So I know that I'm going to have to do some operations where I need to use those matrices transposed. So B transposed in Matlab, as far as I remember, is B, and it's got an apostrophe. Now the only problem is I've just got to remember where the apostrophe is on the computer, and I got that right first time, so that's good. And then simply just press return, and you can see that's kind of flipped the 3 on an angle on that first diagonal. Another one of the operations will require C to do the same as well. So to transpose the C, put the apostrophe and press return, and you can see on the left hand side of the workspace it's actually storing, stored those for us as well. So now we've got to do the operations, and they're straightforward ones. So there's, first of all, there's A plus B, and along with the question it also says if they fail, I've got to say why they fail. Now the next thing is just to find out where that plus sign is, so that's there, that's fine. So A plus B, and press return, and yeah, so that one's failed, and the matrix dimensions must agree. So if you're adding matrices, then just the dimensions need to be the same. So the A1 is, what's that, it's 4 by 3, and the B1 is 4 by 2. So even though the rows match, the columns don't match any of them, so addition won't work. So for question B, it was adding A plus the transpose, so that is actually, I don't actually need to put the transpose, calculate the transpose at the top. Looks like I just could put that in. So learning as we go, and again, because the dimensions don't match again, because when we transposed it, then that became a 2 by 4 matrix. matrix. So that doesn't match. That's not the same as a 4 by 3 matrix. So that's failed. So we can guess that the next question, which is A plus C, that's going to fail as well, because those dimensions don't match either, because A is a 4 by 3 matrix and C is a 3 by 4 matrix. So that's not going to work. So I think we can see all what's going to happen here. So A plus C failed again. And now it's going to do an A plus C transpose. That is going to fail as well, is my guess, because again it still doesn't create the same dimensions. So again, the dimensions don't agree. There's 4 more to do, and then I'll wrap up. So then the next 4 is multiplication. Now you'll have seen from the last studio video that the multiplication will only work if the rows of the columns of the first matrix, doing what Jake did now, the columns of the first matrix agree with the rows of the second matrix. This next question is saying C. And it's as easy as this, it seems, in Matlab. I can just do C times A. Now, the columns in C actually equal the rows in A, so I'm expecting this one to be able to work, and it does. And it produces a matrix for us as well. So the B times C now. So I'm going to do that, B times C, and I'm just looking at B times C, and the columns in the first is 2, and the rows in the second are 3. So I'm not expecting that to work. Yeah, it doesn't like that one at all. So there's 2 more to go. Now I'm going to do C times B. Now the first thing to note about that is whatever happens, it's not going to give you the same answer, even though it was an error in the previous one anyway, but it wouldn't give you the same answer because it's not commutative, so you actually get, you know, two different results. But will the dimensions work for C times B? So C has 4 columns and B has 4 rows, so actually that one should work, which it does. And then finally we have A times, get that one right, A times B transposed, again just get that one right. So A has 3 columns, and B transpose has 2 rows, so I'm not expecting that one to work, and so that one's an error as well. So that's that question done. I've got a whole bunch more to do, and hand-in is tomorrow, so I better get on with it. I hope that bit's been useful, and thank you very much from, as always, Maths at Derby.